Hey everyone, welcome back to BDG Reviews. Going for something a little different. This is the first episode of Head to Head, as I'm calling, and I'm going to take two movies that are essentially the same movie and put them against each other. So what we're doing today is we're doing the Autopsy of Jane Doe and the Possession of Hannah Grace. We'll start with the tail of the tape, so I gotta go over to the computer here to figure this out now here. So, we'll start with the Autopsy of Jane Doe. It was released in 2016, directed by Andre Ovredal. I've never been able to pronounce that name. Stars Emile Hirsch and Brian Cox. And it follows Emile Hirsch and Brian Cox are a father and son that work at this morgue. And a body comes in, and this body's got all sorts of how can I put it? There's a lot of strange things about the body. You know, I'm not going to go into too many spoilers, but screw it. What the hell? If you're watching this, more than likely you've seen one, if not both, of these movies. So, spoilers. Yes, there are going to be spoilers. Starting now. So the body comes in, and it turns out, when all's said and done, it was the body of a witch from, like, back in the Salem witch trials days. And stuff starts happening, paranormal type stuff starts happening, and it's a really damn good film. That's enough for the spoiler side of it. This movie is a study in atmosphere. There are some effects, but for the most part, it's a complete atmosphere piece, you know, and everything about it is awesome. You know, it really ratchets up the creepiness, it ratchets up just the ambiance of the entire thing, and it all works to make a really disturbing and very memorable movie. So, there you go. That's the Autopsy of Jane Doe. Now we'll move on to the Possession of Hannah Grace. Tail of tape on this one. Came out in 2018. Directed by Diedrich von Rugian. I don't know who that is. Stars Shay Mitchell, Kirby Johnson, and some other people I don't know. Plot of this. There's a girl. She's possessed. She dies. Her body ends up going to the morgue, where strange supernatural things start happening. So yeah, it's essentially the same movie. I mean, I'm pretty sure even the run times are the same. Yeah, they're both 86 minutes long. Now, how can I put this? Possession of Hannah Grace made a lot more money. It made $43 million in the box office, whereas the Autopsy of Jane Doe made $6 million. What you gotta remember about that, though, is Possession of Hannah Grace had a wide release, whereas Autopsy of Jane Doe had a very minimal release. So, it's really... It's like comparing apples and oranges. They're not really the same thing. You know, but... yeah. I'll get back into it. The Possession of Hannah Grace, as I just said, it's essentially the same story, but where the Autopsy of Jane Doe goes for atmosphere, it goes for, like, slow building dread, the Possession of Hannah Grace is about jump scares. Now, does it do these jump scares well? You know what? Yeah, for the most part it does. Are the effects good? For the most part, yeah. Is it creepy? Yeah, kinda. But essentially, I almost get the feeling that the producers of The Possession of Hannah Grace saw Autopsy of Jane Doe and thought, you know what? We could make that into a movie with like a lower rating so that everyone that didn't see that can go see this. And essentially they ripped off the entire movie. Just changed very slight things about it and and give it a bit of a, I guess you could say, a happier ending. And that's that. You know, essentially what you have is, let's put it this way: had The Possession of Hannah Grace been made 10, 15 years after the fact, you could see it as like it's like an homage to Autopsy of Jane Doe. But the fact that it's so close, I mean, it's 2 years later, you can't see it as anything but a cash-in. And a very, I don't want to say disappointing. Because here's the thing, I went into this with my eyes open. I went in knowing that it's essentially a clone of a better film. And I enjoyed it for what it was. If someone was to say to me, which, we can watch one of these movies in the theater, which would it be? It would be Autopsy of Jane Doe every day, because it's a much all-around better film. But for what it is, The Possession of Hannah Grace, it works. I mean, I'm not going to say it doesn't. I mean, it was good enough to make $43 million, so yeah. Now, these movies are almost, how can I put it? They're almost like a genre unto themselves. The whole like body that's not really dead, but it's not like really a zombie or anything type thing. I like how Possession of Hannah Grace did it, bringing in, like the essentially failed exorcism part. I think that works. And I don't want to say either one is more believable. Demonic possession, witch from like the 1800s. Neither one is super believable. But I guess, the whole possession angle, we've seen so many movies on possession, you can kind of put aside your disbelief on that one a bit. But I don't know, it's almost like they threw every... It's almost like someone watched Autopsy of Jane Doe, and they watched, like, Insidious, and thought, you know what? If we take the plot of Autopsy of Jane Doe and throw in, like, the jump scares and, the cheap scares of Insidious, we could make a fun little movie. And that's what they did. It's a fun little movie. But let's put it this way. I paid $9.99 for this. I don't regret it. I don't regret paying $9.99 for this. Now, had this been a $15 Blu-ray, yeah, I purposely stayed away from it at that price. If you can find it cheap, it's a fun little, 86 minutes, and that's about it. Now, Autopsy of Jane Doe, I got that for, like 25 or 26 bucks. Do I regret paying that? No. Would I pay that again? Yes. It's an all-around better film. So yeah, let's put it this way. If you can see one of these movies, see Autopsy of Jane Doe. If you get a chance to see both, see them both, honestly, because I've seen worse movies than The Possession of Hannah Grace. I really have. I'm looking at you, Toolbox Murders 2. I like this better than Two Locks Murders 2. I have a singular hate for that movie. But yeah. So, final thoughts. Autopsy of Jane Doe is superior in every way. But if you can't find a copy of Autopsy of Jane Doe and you want to see the basic story, pick up a copy of Possession of Hannah Grace, because you can. Like I said, it's the same story, just not as well done. So yeah, take that for what you will. As for ratings, 10 and like 5. Yeah. But yeah. Hope you enjoyed. Hopefully I'll do some more videos like this. I kind of dig the idea of like a head-to-head type thing. But yeah, that's it for now. See you next time.